Hey there everyone, oGsTheStC here with game number 3 of this best of 5 series between MarineKingPrime and his Red Terran opponent oGsTheStC. I will shortly be spoiling what happens in the previous 2 games, but before we do that, let's just go over the map they're going to be spawning on today. This is game number 3 and it will be on Tal'Darim Altar LE. This is the biggest map in the Blizzard map pool, so we won't see very many early game rushes out of either player here today unless there is some crazy proxy play, which is kind of maybe going to happen, as I'm going to now spoil what happened in the previous 2 games. In game number 1, MarineKingPrime was able to just kind of outplay his Red Terran opponents. Both players doing about the same thing, just MarineKingPrime out-microing his opponent at oGsTheSC's front door, and was able to overrun his defenses and take that first game. In the second game, we did see oGsTheSCC actually going for a double barracks proxy rush right outside MarineKingPrime's base, and it was pretty successful until MarineKingPrime was able to hold it off very nicely. So, that actually did force the SCC to GG out of that game, as his economy was crippled as he diverted all of his resources into that original 2 proxy barracks. And with that defense, MarineKingPrime did basically seal that game, and he would have probably come out to win that game. So the STC decided to GG out of there, and the result is 2 very quick wins for our Blue Terran player, MarineKingPrime. He is up 2 games to none, and if he wins this game right here, he will take down this series, and he will become the champion of the FXOpen Invitational Series number 4. This is the grand finals of that tournament. These players, once again, are doing pretty much the same thing here in the early game, and I will continue the theme of taking up this little time during the game by talking about my casting and just kind of the future of this channel. I have ordered a new computer, as I am currently casting on a MacBook Pro 15-inch. Woo-woo! Got to be so proud of that. It is, of course, not the greatest computer for casting StarCraft, and I will be getting a new computer that is able to handle StarCraft 2 on maximum graphics settings and just be so very much of a boss to be able to record with actual programs that are designed for PCs rather than the janky ones that are able to be used by Macs. Anyway, I will be getting a new computer, and that should arrive in the near future, probably in the next few weeks, I would say, and I will be casting, and I hope you guys notice a great difference once that does happen, as I will be dedicated to actually providing the best casts possible, along with some high-quality videos as well. So, we will be waiting for that to happen, and now back to the game. We do have a factory being built by our Blue Terran MarineKingPrime, while our Red Terran, the STC, has instead opted for a tech lob on his barracks, going for some Reaper harass, so we will see a divergence in their builds right here pretty early, and much earlier than we saw the difference in the first game, as these 2 Marines being very, very nice, role-playing some sentries, watching both sides of this choke, and now a third one joining as well. So we see MarineKingPrime using his Marines as very, very fun items. Actually using them, you know, pretty much realistically, as Marines are spaced out. Each one of them has a post, and they are sticking true to that assignment. The first Reaper is now on the way from oGsTheSC's base all the way down to MarineKingPrime's, as it is going to have to make quite a journey. And by the time it gets there, it might be overwhelmed by the number of Marines. And now there are 4 Marines, and they were nicely evenly spaced out again. So MarineKingPrime treating his Marines like little toy dominoes, spacing them out perfectly. Gotta love to see that, as we have the Destiny Cloudfist coming out of MarineKingPrime's build. He is going to be building a tech lab and then allowing his starport to take it over once it does get built. So we will see some Banshee play from him, it does look like at this point. Meanwhile, this Reaper is about to get pretty close to MarineKingPrime's base, as it is actually going to be stopping at that watchtower for now, it appears, but it will probably be joined by this other Reaper once they both decide to move out. It looks like a 3rd Reaper as well, so just Reapers galore for our Red Terran player right now, and Cloaking Field is being researched by MarineKingPrime at his starport, so we will indeed see some Cloaked Banshees. These Marines are no longer spaced out correctly. I hate that MarineKingPrime has no longer dedicated his time and his APM to spacing out those Marines correctly. It is terrible. It's terrible micro to have your Marines just randomly spread out like that, and I believe he will actually lose this game because of that. But back to real casting, we have 2 of the 3 Reapers going to be coming up here into the main, possibly going to be sniping a couple of SCVs, but there are a lot of Marines going to be able to take them out in short order. Let's see, they did get 1 kill, it looks like. Will they get a second one? That first Reaper did get destroyed. This one is still pretty healthy, going to be running around the base trying to evade the ire of the MarineKingPrime's Marines. But unfortunately, both of those Reapers did get taken out, it appears, so not very cost effective were those Marines, and it looks like 250 resources lost for our Red Terran, and only 50 lost. That 1 worker killed by the Reaper for our Blue Terran. Let's take a look at income tab just to see how these players are doing. They're both right at 26 harvesters, so they will be exactly even though they are both using mules. So nice to see that. Take a look at that APM tab just for some fun. They are once again at 185, so it looks like these players are both consistently right at 185 APM throughout the game, no matter what is happening. And a factory just now getting built, and it will have a tech lab on it, so it will start churning out some siege tanks for MarineKingPrime. Meanwhile, some Banshees are continuing to get built for MarineKingPrime down at his base. This one is all the way up close to our Red Terran's base, and it looks like it's just going to make sure there's no expansion here, and there indeed isn't. This is still a one base game for both players, and it looks like that energy being researched for our Red Terran. And here we go, the Cloaked Banshee is loose inside the mineral field of oGsTheSC, but there is a Viking. It just needs to be able to spot this Banshee, and then it will be able to take it out, but unfortunately, there we go. Missile turret is built, and the Viking will be able to make sure this Banshee isn't able to do too much. It does already have 4 worker kills, however, so pretty effective right there for that one Banshee. A scan is forced to go off, so that's not as bad as it might have looked. 4 kills is pretty good already, and then it forced a scan, which is of course equivalent to a mule that no longer is able to be used by the STC. So pretty effective right there for our Blue Terran MarineKingPrime with that one single Cloaked Banshee going across the map, able to take out a couple of workers and then forcing a scan that cannot be used as energy for a mule. Meanwhile, back at his base, he has quite the composition just chilling inside his mineral line. These SCVs are pretty confused right now as they're just trying to mine some minerals, but they're forced to blink through just a plethora of Marines along with some siege tanks as well. So they're just trying to do their job, but they're confused at the, well, the audience that's there to watch them just mining some minerals, just kind of going about their business. Meanwhile, the STC does have siege tanks of his own on the way as well, also getting siege tech researched a little bit behind his opponents, but it will be researched. Actually, he's a little bit ahead. I was wrong there. By a couple of seconds, he is a little bit ahead with that siege tech research. That starport lifting off just to allow this Marine to go by. I'm not sure why he did that, as the supply depot was, already lowered. He has a bunker here just to make sure his base is defended from any attack that might come, and indeed it might be coming, as there is almost a full tab of Marines headed his way with 2 siege tanks just kind of finishing off that one tab. Looks like the barracks is going to be taking over this tech lab. That's actually why he lifted off that starport, so that is a real reason to do so. Here we go. A Cloaked Banshee is going to be joining the rest of its comrades here, and they will be assaulting the front door of the STC. Nope, they're going to actually be stopping right here. Sieging up Wilkie. There we go. Going to be sieging up with those tanks. This one is going to be bombarded from afar, however. And these Vikings do manage to take out that Banshee. A Raven being used very nicely. Will he Hunter Seeker missile these Marines? No, he will not, because he does not have that research. But I would love to see that in this game if we do indeed watch the STC use Hunter Seeker missile to just annihilate this ball of Marines. That would be so very lovely. I can only cross my fingers and hope that is what he has up his sleeve. But of course, he will have to research that before it's even possible. We have another stream of reinforcements coming over here. It's actually a bunch of SCVs, so this might be an all-in attack from MarineKingPrime. He has a bunch of SCVs coming off his line. How many does he have still harvesting? No, he still has a bunch of SCVs still harvesting. No, actually, they're not harvesting. They're actually just harvesters. I forgot. This tab does not actually tell you how many of them are doing their work. It looks like he's actually being doubled right now, tripled even, in the income tab, and these SCVs are going to be taking the brunt of the tank's damage, but they will be able to tank some damage, and unfortunately for those SCVs, they were just thrown into the meat grinder and taken out pretty much instantly. And here we go, the engagement is now going to take place right at the ramp for our Red Terran player. These Marines holding the line, or at least attempting to hold the line. A turret actually being dropped to try to help with the defense, and it looks like this will be held off. Maybe not right now, but it looks like there will be enough here in the way of defense for the STC that he can just hunker down in this bunker, and it looks like this bunker will actually be taken out, but not before quite a few Marines are taken out on MarineKingPrime's side. It looks like SCVs are actually going to be repairing this bunker, so MarineKingPrime's little semi-all-in attack there was held off very, very easily. He did manage to do some damage, but really, in the end, not enough to justify the intense hit he took in the income tab. Look at the harvester discrepancy right now. It is 35 to 11. This Banshee is able to do a little bit of work, actually taking out 6 workers already. A scan being forced, and still didn't manage to take out that Banshee. And now we have a tank-on-tank battle with some Marines just kind of joining in there for fun. This Banshee is still alive, so keep that selected. So take a look at that workers lost tab. 21 killed by the STC just because MarineKingPrime kind of just threw them into the meat grinder. And meanwhile, 9 workers killed by Banshees from harassment for MarineKingPrime. So a lot of work to do right now if MarineKingPrime wants to come back in this game. It is pretty much up to the STC just to hold his lead and not give it back to his Blue Terran opponent. If he is able to do so, he will force a fourth game in this best-of-5 series, as if he does not manage to hold his lead in this game and take it down, if MarineKingPrime does come back and take this game, he will win the series and be the champion. But right as I say that, MarineKingPrime actually does GG out of this game. So this series is now at 2-1. The 2 games won by MarineKingPrime, and then game number 3 won by oGsTheSC. So well played by the STC in this game, managing to hold off a pretty much all attack with a bunch of SCVs spearheading that assault, just kind of melting them away with sea shanks, and then holding off the rest of that assault, and weathering the storm that was a couple of cloaked Banshees, not letting them do too much damage. So well played by the STC. Hope you guys enjoyed this game, and I will see you guys in game number 4.